Hi, my name is Andy Slania, a Customer Success Manager at Prodly. In this video, I will walk you through how to troubleshoot data deployment errors within Prodly AppOps Release. There are two types of errors that you may encounter with your deployment: errors that impact all records for an object during your deployment, and errors that impact specific records. For errors that impact all records for an object during your deployment, you will typically see these errors right away, as your entire deployment may be marked as failed, or your deployment may appear paused and an error will be seen via the Deployment Activity tab. To troubleshoot these errors, ensure the following. Verify that the user in your source and destination org connections is active and allowed access to all records within the object. If authorization is assigned correctly for the profile and sharing settings, the issue may be due to a missing permission set or license. If the objects being deployed are part of a managed package, ensure the user in the connection is assigned a license to the managed package. There may be an issue with the connection established within the Prodly AppOps app within your org. Go into the Connections tab within the app, open the source or destination org associated with the connection, and verify if the user listed is active. If the user needs to be changed, you will need to delete the connection record, then recreate. Verify that the schema matches between your source and destination orgs. If there is a mismatch between the objects or fields, the deployment will be halted. You can either modify the schema between your source and destination via a change set, or you could select the Create Missing Fields and Sync Picklist Values options within your dataset. After you have verified and resolved any discrepancies, go back into the deployment result and rerun the deployment. For errors that impact specific records during your deployment, you may see these errors appear while the deployment is processing. To troubleshoot, you will need to start from the bottom up in your dataset deployment result. You need to start from the bottom, since the parent relationships of the root object are the first objects within your deployment result, which are near the bottom of the list. If you have used a deployment plan containing multiple datasets, you will need to identify the first dataset result in your plan. Start from bottom up in the dataset, then move to the next dataset and again start from bottom up. This is because deployment errors can cascade down to child relationships. When you have identified the first data record failures to troubleshoot, ensure the following. If the record failed due to an event like a validation rule or trigger that is enabled in the destination org, the dataset can be redeployed with that event turned off. This can be achieved using Prodly AppOps Release by leveraging the Event Control feature. This feature gives you the ability to deactivate trigger, workflow, validation rule, duplicate rule, and process builder events for an object before your deployment begins, then reactivates the event after your deployment is completed. This can be managed within the dataset. If you are seeing an error due to a value not matching a filter criteria, this can be due to a mismatch in the field level settings between your source and destination orgs. This typically happens if an event is active in your destination, or if there was a change to the filter in your source after your record was created. Based on your use case, either deactivate the event using the Event Control feature, or adjust the data in your source to match the criteria in the filter. After performing the necessary changes, redeploy your dataset. If there are records that cannot be created in your destination with a specific value, you may need to assign a temporary value during the deployment. This can be managed at a field level within the dataset by navigating to the impacted field, then selecting the Delay on Insert setting. When this is selected, Prodly will create the record with a temporary value for the field. Then Prodly will update the field value to match the source. Sometimes it's possible that you do not want to deploy the record at all. If there was a record created in your source with a field value that is not in your destination, it could be an indication that the record should remain in your source and not be deployed. If this is the case, either deprecate the record in your source or adjust the query filter in your dataset to ensure the record is omitted. Or, if all other records were deployed successfully, this deployment record failure may be ignored. After the preliminary troubleshooting for issues identified during your deployment have been addressed, the deployment can be restarted. Any records that were previously created as part of the deployment will be updated if using Virtual External ID as your upsert method, and any new records will be created in your destination. To summarize, we have reviewed the steps to troubleshoot deployment failures and outlined steps to correct and redeploy. This will help ensure that any errors identified can be quickly resolved to ensure your deployment will continue as intended. If you are still experiencing issues following these troubleshooting steps, you can create a support case with Prodly to help resolve. Via the Prodly community at success.prodly.co, open a new case and your Prodly Customer Success Manager will contact you to assist in troubleshooting. If you have any questions about the content seen in this video, feel free to reach out to us at any time by visiting prodly.co. Thanks for taking time to learn more about Prodly and the AppOps platform.